Hello, everyone. Tonight's paranormal episode is going to be on dreams or sleeping. Usually they coincide. It might just be me tonight because, I don't know, I'm still trying to acclimate to the new schedule. I'm still in training for the new job, which is at 8 to 5, compared to before when I was working 5 p.m. to sometimes midnight or later. So still trying to adjust all of that, but unfortunately by the time I do that, I'm probably going to be changing shifts again. So I don't know. It's taking a lot to adjust, and ideally we do these later, but honestly, I don't think I'm going to be awake for much longer. So I wanted to do it while I was awake and not skip another week without doing the show. So oh, it's my cat. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about dreaming, and I don't know how interesting it will be, but hopefully by the title you were able to gather what it's about and are therefore interested in it if you're watching it. I'm just going to basically go over strange things that I've found with myself and the way that I sleep and the way that I dream that don't correspond to most people, at least not most people I've come across. Also, I want to parallel my sleeping patterns, dreaming patterns to other experiencers. So that's what we're going to do. Just trying to get organized. So I'm going to start off with, I guess, a history of my sleep. I think I've done videos about it before, but not just focused on this topic or whatever. So I have insomnia. Now, it's a common misconception that insomnia means that you just flat out don't sleep at all or go for periods at a time without sleeping at all. It's actually not the case. While that is a type of insomnia or a symptom of it, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to just not sleep at all to have it. Essentially, what it is just long-term sleeping issues, whether it's you can't fall asleep easily, you can't stay asleep, you go periods of time without sleep, stuff like that. And I don't think I've ever gone through a period without any sleep. Like the longest I've ever been without sleep was maybe 28 hours. But my problem is that I have a lot of trouble falling asleep, especially during normal times. It seems that for whatever reason during the day, I'm able to sleep pretty easily. Like right when I came home from work, I probably would have been able to fall right to sleep, mainly because I've been up since 7 a.m. But I don't know, it's a weird thing where during the day I typically don't have issues sleeping. And then another issue is staying asleep. I typically only stay asleep for a couple hours at a time. Sometimes I'm able to go back to sleep. Other times I'm not. It depends on the situation. If I know I have to be up at a certain time the next day, it seems to aggravate the issue. And as far as why I can't sleep, and I've been to a couple of doctors about it, it's mainly nothing that can be easily remedied. It seems to be worsened during times of stress or irregular weather. Like right now, our weather's like all over the place. Yesterday it was like 70 degrees. Today it's 50 and below. I think the last time I looked it was maybe 45. It's pretty cold, especially when you're used to 70 like it was yesterday. But anyway, so I lost my train of thought. But anyway, yeah, I have trouble staying asleep for more than a few hours. Like I'm lucky if I get a full 6 or 7 hours all in a row. Sometimes lucky just to get that combined. Like sometimes I'll awaken and then have enough time to go back to sleep to equal a decent amount of sleep. But ideally, you're supposed to have a straight amount of sleep. And it varies from person to person. I know people that say that they function on 4 hours of sleep or less. I don't necessarily think that's healthy. Like it's supposedly not healthy to sleep that little, But, whatever works for you. I typically need more than that, 6 to 8 hours. But, I try to get what I can get. Hello, Matt, and hello, Wade. So that's my sleeping issue, and this has been going on as far back as I can remember. I've always had trouble sleeping. It's just seemed to have gotten worse as I've gotten older. Also, the quality of my sleep, as far as like my dreams, have diminished over time. I'm not really sure what the cause of that is, but I used to have very lucid dreams, and they were very detailed, and just a lot better. Like, I had a lot more good dreams, like when I was younger, whereas now, hello, Yeti.
Hello. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Whereas now, I mostly have nightmares or neutral dreams where they're not really good or bad. They're just kind of pointless. But yeah, so that's what I'm dealing with. So I don't know if you caught anything in the beginning of anything I've said.
No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I haven't gotten in anything in detail, so you came at a good time.
Okay.
Basically, I was just giving my history of my sleep issues. And Momo. So if you want to go into that, like if you have issues sleeping,
Sure.
how long you've been having issues sleeping, have they gotten worse as time progressed, things like that.
Yeah. Mine. Well, I don't sleep. Basically, that's the best way to say it. I'll go in a 24-hour period. I might sleep an hour if I'm lucky, and that's just usually from like sheer exhaustion. Usually, like within a full week, I might get maybe 5 hours of sleep in a week, and stone cold sober. I don't do anything. It's not like that. I just I don't know why. Um, I guess my body's just gotten used to it over time, um, and my dream when I dream, they are some of the most whacked out dreams that you could imagine. I mean, some stuff that would make some badass movies, and they're just creepy ass shit.
And that's something interesting that I do want to bring up is that from what I've read and heard of other people, because like I ask people, how they sleep or whatever, somehow it gets brought up.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I understand, to get into a REM sleep, which I believe is when you dream,
Mm-hmm.
supposed to take a good amount of time to actually reach that state.
Right.
Whereas with me, I can start dreaming within minutes. And I know this because I'll fall asleep because like I'll wake up too early and I'll fall back asleep, then keep waking up because I'm afraid to sleep in or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I understand, that's not normal. It's supposed to take a while to reach that state. And from what I understand, outside of REM is where your body gets the most rest because it's not
Mm-hmm.
doing anything, which kind of makes sense as to why I almost never feel rested. I'm not quite as bad as you where I get 1 hour. I don't think I can function like that. But
Well, it didn't start out like that. Because it all started with my back issues. Because as through time they've gotten worse, and so has my sleeping issues. It started out, wouldn't be able to sleep through the night. I would sleep 6 hours a night, have to get up and go sit on the recliner and kind of arch it back. And then it's progressively gotten worse and worse and worse. Like because of it, I haven't slept in a bed in over 3 years, or I'm going on my fourth year right now. But that's just because of my back. That doesn't have anything to do with my sleep. But I think a lot of my sleep issues has stemmed from my back issues. But now it's gotten to where it's just like part of me now. I sleep I sleep like that even when I'm not having like my back issues. You know, it's like it's developed. My actual sleep habits are to not sleep.
So how long has this been happening? Like, how long have you had these sleeping issues?
Uh, to this extent, just in the past 4 years, 4 to 5 years. I've been a insomniac my entire life. My mom will tell you when I was a baby, I was like that, and even when I was a small child, I was very active at night and preferred to sleep during the day. I guess I'm just naturally nocturnal.
Hmm. Which ironically is a very common trait with experiencers and or people involved in the paranormal. I don't know
Right.
if there's a correlation, but I just find it odd that that's the way it is.
It's ironic.
Yeah, so I don't know if it has like to do with like your internal clock or your serotonin levels. I don't really know.
Right.
But oh, and that was what I was getting back to. My issue of why I can't sleep is because essentially I can't relax. I can't
Mm.
shut my brain off. My brain is just always going. Like even when I'm dreaming typically, like I'm still cognizant. It's not like a lot of people the way that they describe their dreams, they're just kind of going with it like it's just happening,
Yeah.
which is kind of like, correlates to lucid dreaming. But with my dreams, if I'm like always thinking, like it's rarely ever where I'm just watching it play out like a movie or something like that, and I'm almost always in first person. And this is there was a period of time where that wasn't the case, where a lot of times I'd be watching either myself or somebody that I have control over, which I don't really understand that, but whatever. I don't know if it's video games that did it. I don't know, but like I'd be like watching. It's like kind of like a remote control type thing where I'm in control of the person. I know that I'm that person, but I'm not seeing through their eyes. It's really weird, but
That is weird.
for a long time now, I almost always see, in first person, which again, I don't know that's all that common.
Hmm.
Um,
I don't
yeah,
know.
my issues just I can't
That's how that's
relax.
how I dream. I dream in first person as well. I don't know if that's normal or not. I mean, it just seems like all mine are. I don't know about the remote control kind of feeling, but it just seems like a. I don't know. It's hard to describe, I guess. But it seems like I dream in first person as well.
Now, when you dream, do you have any sense of, um, well, I was gonna say sense of sense, but do you have any senses? Like, do you have smell, taste? Do you feel things, whether it be pain or otherwise?
I've had. Excuse me. I've felt pain. I've uh, I've experienced smell. I've never experienced taste, but I have definitely experienced pain for sure. One of my oldest memories, I was a little kid and I remember it was Christmas Eve and I had this weird dream of a like a bug, it was a UFO. It's like an alien ship came down and it was a bug. And what he was doing, he picked me up, like he held me like like by my chest like this, and he had this long fingernail and was scratching my backbone like that. And I remember because it felt like my bone was just like being like raked by something, and it woke me up. It hurt so bad it woke me up, and for some reason I still remember that dream to this day. I think I was like 8 years old when I dreamt that.
And
It
you
was
didn't have any back issues back then?
no,
And
no.
did you wake up with any pain, or was it just within the dream?
It was just within the dream. Well, I woke up and I was hurting, but after I came to and wiped all the tears and shit and realized I was conscious, the pain went away.
Okay.
So it was sleep induced, but
Right. Well,
for
sometimes, you'll get hurt while you're sleeping, and it'll translate to the dream. That's why I was
Right.
asking. With my dreams, like, and I have some pretty brutal dreams. I actually just had one last night, and the weird thing about it is I'll feel the pain, but I've never in my life experienced what that should feel like. Like I've been stabbed, shot, burned. I've drowned or started drowning, but like I didn't really feel that. It was more of just the fear of drowning.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like smell, it's not always, but I have, I smell things in my dreams sometimes. Taste quite frequently, which kind of, I don't know, disturbs me, because things don't typically taste like they're supposed to. Like they'll taste gross, which kind of like freaks me out because like what am I doing that like I'm tasting these things? I don't know. It's kind of gross, but yeah, sometimes like the one dream that I had, in which this doesn't happen often either, is my senses were so acute that I actually got lost within the dream to the point where I had to question like whether or not I was still dreaming, because I could feel everything. I could smell the air, like that fresh air right after it rains. And like I could feel the wind blowing against my skin. Like it was a cool feeling. And the strange thing about that dream in particular is that it wasn't cold outside. It was actually during the summer. So it doesn't make sense as to why I was feeling that way. But the dream was just so sensually or sensory intense that I was like, whoa, like, is this happening? And like in that dream too, I was like, I don't know, I guess it would probably be easier to describe the dream to know what I'm talking about. But there was one point in the dream where I forget what was happening. It was some kind of device. It was about aliens, of course. And the weird thing about the dream too is that it almost felt like a memory, like it had happened, and it didn't happen. And the circumstances within the dream made it impossible for it to have happened, because the people in the dream that were with me didn't correlate to how it was in real life, like their ages and where we lived and stuff like that. So I know it didn't, I'm pretty sure it didn't happen, but it felt like a memory because it was so it just felt real. And I don't have dreams like that often. And since it wasn't a good dream, I can't say that I enjoyed it. But like it left me like, when I woke up, I'm like, what the fuck? Like I was just like blown away. And it really, like, I couldn't stop thinking about it for days just because it was so vivid. Everything about it was just so, and it was just weird. Like, I don't know. It was just a really weird one.
Yeah, that's a doozy.
Yeah.
I got lost in a dream once, kind of, sort of like that. Well, I don't know that I got lost. It's weird how to describe it. It seems like I was in the dream for so long, or so long in the dream, I guess, because not in reality, that the reality of the dream became my reality. I don't know. Does that make sense? Probably not.
Yeah, you're dreaming so long, it felt like you were living it.
Yeah. It felt like my consciousness became the dream. You know, the dream was turned into my reality, and I couldn't figure out how to get out of the dream, like how to wake myself up. And that was when I realized that I can consciously control my dreams, if that makes sense. I don't know if I taught myself or I figured out that I could wake myself up out of a dream, and that blew my mind.
I guess I'll just verbally, because somebody was commenting about the time. Yeah, typically this is later, but as I was trying to explain, I work 8 to 5 right now because I'm in training. So if I'm going to be able to do these shows at all, they're probably going to have to be early, because otherwise I fall asleep. I come straight home and I fall asleep. because I can't. I'm not used to this sleep schedule. So if I didn't do this now, it probably wasn't going to get done. And I didn't want to go 2 weeks without doing a show because then it becomes a habit. So that's why it's on earlier. But I mean, if you don't want to watch it now, you can always just watch it later. I mean, that's the beauty of live shows and replays. But anyway, until my work schedule becomes permanent, my shows are probably going to be erratic. So I apologize for that, but there's really just no way around it. What was I going to say? Have you ever died in a dream?
Yeah. And ironically, it was from one of my worst fears, falling. Falling and drowning are two of my biggest fears. And in this dream, I fell off. For whatever reason, I was on top of a building. In reality, I would never be on top of a building. This is like a skyscraper, a big ass building. And something happened. I think I slipped and I fell backwards. And that's all I remember was just falling down and falling down. And I just looked over my shoulder and I saw the sidewalk coming up. And I hit the sidewalk and I felt myself hit the sidewalk. And then it all went black, but I was still conscious, if that makes sense. It's like I was in my dream, I was still dreaming. But that person was dead. I don't know if that makes no sense at all. This is weird because we're talking about a 2-dimensional subject in 4-dimensional terms. I didn't wake up after I hit the ground. Is what I'm trying to say. It was weird. What about you, Rin? Have you ever died?
Many times.
When you got stabbed or shot?
Ironically, no, because in this I can probably blame video games for, because a lot of the games that I play are either hack and slash games or shooting games. So in these instances, I'm kind of like in my dream playing a character in a game. Like I know if I get shot, I'm not gonna die because I have like inhuman abilities. I know it's like kind of weird, but that's just, I don't know. Like the dream last night, I was like superhuman or whatever. So things that normally would kill somebody didn't, they don't. But the instances where I've died, one time, ironically, it was drowning. I've never died from hitting the ground. Like I have hit the ground, but like I've never died from it. I either just hit the ground and I'm fine, or I wake myself up either before I hit the ground or right when it happens. Because I am pretty, like, I try not to wake myself up because I know I'm going to have a hard time getting back to sleep. So if I can kind of control the dream to where I can handle what's going on, I do. But if I feel like I just can't deal with it, I will wake myself up. And typically I do that around the water type dreams. I've mentioned before, I have a very severe phobia of large ships. And a lot of the times where I'm in those situations, I'm either stuck on the ship or it's sinking, or I'm around the ship while it's sinking, or even just seeing a ship in general in my dream. I just don't like it. I don't know what it is, but
why is that?
It's a specific ship that I don't even like to talk about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't like even saying the word. I don't like reading about it. It's just,
I probably know.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. It's the most famous ship that ever existed. But I don't know why. The only logical explanation I have for that, because I've had it since I was like at least 8, is my mom might have been watching a documentary or something about it and not understanding as a young child what it, meant or whatever. It traumatized me.
Mm-hmm.
Because she does have a pretty hardcore fascination with that ship. So That's the only logical explanation. I don't know that I buy in a whole past life thing, but if it were to exist, I think that I was somehow involved with it, whether I died on it or whatever, because it's a really random fear to have. And I don't know, like I've had it for so long, and I don't know, it's certain weird things, but I don't want to talk about that anymore.
It's interesting. It is interesting. I'm sorry, but we can drop it.
Yeah. Another one is like bridges over water. I hate bridges over water.
Oh,
I'll be driving on it, and then it'll just like collapse, or the bridge will be out and it won't be marked in any way, and then I'll go flying off the bridge into the water. Typically, I wake myself up because I just can't deal with it. What other ways have I died? I think I was stabbed once and died, but it was like it was only once. And I have actually, in the dream, a couple times went to an afterlife. Luckily, it was mostly either neutral or beneficial. Like, I've only went to, quote unquote, a hell type thing once, and it was really random. And ironically, I was driving downtown, because it was back when I worked downtown, and there was like this big hole. I don't know why it was there, but like I guess the road had just caved in, like what do they call those, sinkholes?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that, but since I'm in the dream, I'm like, oh, I can just go over it, right? Well, no, not this time. I drove over it and just started falling, and I was falling for a while, and all of a sudden there was just all these flames around me, and I don't know if it was like a hell type situation or if it just was the car exploding. I don't really know, but there was just flames all around me, and then the next thing I saw was just blackness. And that's why I found what you said really weird, because it was just black, and it was black for what felt like forever, but it was only like a little bit. But it was terrifying because there was just nothing. And then when I woke up, this is back when I was sleeping with all my lights off, which I don't do that anymore. So I woke up to pitch blackness, and I'm like, oh, hell no. But that was a scary one.
Yeah, that one on mine freaked me out too. Because like you said, it was just all. It wasn't black. It was nothing. I don't know if that makes any sense. It was just. It's hard to describe, really. It's like I had a sense of self. I could tell that I was, like I said, like I was conscious, but there was absolutely nothing around me. I wasn't on a solid surface. There was no wind. There was no smell. It was just like a vacuum, I guess you could say. You know, it was very, very creepy.
Mine was black. Mine was like, when people talk about the void, or the void is mentioned, that's kind of what it felt like. It was just like darker than dark. Like it was just like being inside of a black hole or something.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
But yeah, I didn't like that at all. But typically, if I die in the dream, which doesn't really happen too much anymore because I have power-ups and all that.
If only it was real.
Yeah. I'm telling you what, some of my, like even last night, even though it was a fucked up dream, I was kicking some major ass in it, so it was kind of cool still. But yeah, I mean, it's like kind of like a virtual reality type thing where you're like inside of a game, and sometimes it doesn't work the way I want it to. Like for whatever reason, I have a lot of issues with my weapons in my dreams. But I'm sure there's like a metaphor there somewhere, but I don't know. It was, the fuck was that?
The absence of God is the definition of hell.
Well, it depends on which one because they do talk about fire and brimstone and all that.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was no devil in my dream or anything like that. I don't know. Plus, I don't believe in that stuff.
Right.
But the dreams about the afterlife typically aren't like a typical heaven situation. Like I haven't really seen like a heaven, like the the biblical type of heaven very often. It's usually just, I don't know, like very colorful, like in a field somewhere, like in nature, just very peaceful.
Right.
Not really negative for the most part. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I've never had I've never had anything even similar to something I would call a heaven. A heaven.
Another interesting thing is that it's like an urban legend or something that if you, number one, if you die in a dream, you die in real life.
Yeah.
But more specifically, if you fall and hit the ground in your dream, you die. Which I find ironic because I've done it several times, and obviously, I didn't do it. That was Fred.
He's gonna be pissed.
I think that's the first time I've seen Fresh wrench anyone.
I think so.
Anyway, so I find that ironic. I think it's more so if you, well, obviously, if you were to do that in a dream and die, you can't really come back to tell about it. But
Right.
I think if it were to happen, it would be just from the fear of it happening that you may have like a heart attack or something.
Yeah. I think it was like sleep studies or people doing sleep studies that have just postulated that if you had a dream that you died, that you would die in reality. Because you're right. I mean, how the hell would you know that? You're not gonna die in your dream and say, "Oh shit, I just died," and then clonk over.
Right. Oh, that's another one. When you're dreaming, do you ever have, like, it's almost like you're in and out of a dream where you have to really focus on stuff, or like otherwise it's really blurry?
Yep.
I thought that was just
I've had like
I feel myself waking up and it's like, no, I need sleep.
my daughter came in here about a month ago and she caught me sleeping with my eyes open because she was sitting there. She was talking to me like as though I was awake, and because she was looking at me and talking to me, and she said the next thing she just saw me, I started snoring, and it freaked her out because I was stone cold asleep. And I didn't even know. I didn't know she was even in there. She woke me up because it freaked her out so bad,
And were your pupils like visible?
Yeah, she said my eyes were wide open as though I was awake. Like, not just how they're half, kind of half open. Like, she said they were open as though, like somebody just shut the lights off. Like I was watching TV and I just passed out. So that needless to say, that freaked her shit. And I've been doing something really weird here lately. I've been falling asleep standing up. Not. I mean, now it's not for like minutes at a time, but now granted, my medicine does some really fucking weird shit to me, by the way. But I've noticed that, like, if I come in here and it's always early in the morning, and if I come in here and I just focus on something before I sit down, I'll wake up like, I don't know, 30 or 60 seconds later, and I'll be like, oh shit, and I can tell that I was asleep. It's really, really bizarre. I kind of hope that's just a phase, because it kind of reminds me of narcolepsy a little bit.
You're probably just exhausted from sleeping 1 hour a day.
Could be. It could be just my mind shutting down.
Right. I mean, you got to sleep somehow, I guess. Rhonda asks about dreams within dreams. I've had that where, like, I'll wake up trying to wake myself out of a dream, and I'll still be in the dream, which is very frustrating.
Yeah.
But typically, I don't have those very often, and I haven't had anything like that recently.
I've had a dream where I was dreaming, like I was dreaming inside of my dream. That was kind of weird.
Do you ever have weird, like, I'm not going to put it how I put it because, like, I'm reading the email I sent him. It was just things to think about. But, like, in my dreams, a lot of times people don't look the way they're supposed to, even though they're supposed to be that person.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they're either taller or shorter than they're supposed to be. A lot of times, for whatever reason, my car will be too small to like where I try to get in it to like leave for some. It's usually some kind of situation where I need to get out of there, but it won't. It's just not like you can't get inside of it. It's too small. Like it doesn't make sense. Like I said, I'm sure there's like a metaphorical thing going on because it's like consistent. Like it happens a lot, and it's just weird. Or like doors, they'll be smaller than they're supposed to be. It's usually things that are smaller than they're supposed to be. And I've done like some kind of analysis, and it says that like the size in your dreams are supposed to be proportionate to how you feel, like how important they are to you.
Oh,
But,
really?
yeah, I don't know if because it doesn't really correlate with me personally. Because like they say, like if you're taller than somebody or they're shorter than you, then you think more of yourself than you do that person or something like that, which is totally not the case. Because like I don't have a huge ego by any means, so it doesn't make sense to me.
Huh.
But yeah, it's weird, and I don't know what that's about. But it's been, like I said, a consistent. Like I have a lot of. I don't really have the same dreams very often, but I have like a similar theme or themes within my dreams.
Right.
And it's just weird. Have you ever had a dream that came true in any way?
I have. Yeah. I don't really want to elaborate, but yes, I have. Not often. To be honest with you, my wife would be the one to talk to about that. She is creepy. she she I swear she's psychic, and I know she's an empath. Um, but she would be the one to talk to about shit like that. But yes, I have had I have had things come true.
Yeah, I've had it a couple of times. Nothing significant to where it's like, oh, I like predicted this would happen. Just like small things that just kind of freak you out. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I had like I guess it was like a period of time that I was having that happen, and everything that I dreamed would come true did come true, and it really got me. It really started freaking me out. It it got really. I mean, nothing intense or weird. I wasn't saving babies from drowning or anything cool like that. But just everything that happened in the dream happened in reality, and it really it blew my mind. And it really kind of freaked me out for a little while. But then after a while, it stopped happening.
Rana wants to know what an empath is.
An empath is someone who can feel your pain, basically, or can tell what your issue, like if you're feeling a certain feeling, or if you have a certain pain or depression or anything like that, they're able to pick up on it and go from there. They can, sometimes a therapeutic empath can help you like fix the problem, or tell you something to help get over whatever's bothering you. An empath is just a empathic psychic, more or less.
Well, a psychic and an empath are not the same.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't want to use that word, but I was trying to put them in the same ball or same genre
Yeah,
in a way. But
yeah,
you're right; they are not the same thing.
they are similar, and a lot of times they do correlate. Like a person that is psychic tends to be empathic to some extent.
Right.
There are a lot of empaths that are not psychic. They just pick up on emotions really easily.
Yeah.
And as far as psychics, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the situation. I know that to some extent it exists because I've experienced it. But as far as like the people you get readings from and stuff, I don't really buy into any of that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them are merely good at body language and reading people, because you can tell a lot about a person just by, like, you know, you become, what do they call that? There's a word for it. It's kind of like a poker player where you just you pick up on certain things that they do, and a lot of times they'll also lead you with certain questions that they ask, and then by how you respond, whether it's verbally or non-verbally, they can gauge kind of like how you are and then basically tell you what you want to hear. So
Yeah.
while it might be fun to get a reading, and I have a couple times, I just wouldn't put too much weight on it. It's just kind of something fun to do.
Yeah.
A lot of people become addicted to it, where they won't do anything
Yeah.
without consulting their psychic.
I could be a psychic. I mean, all you do, they just walk in. You go, I get the feeling you get angry sometimes. Do you get angry sometimes? Okay, that'll be $20. You know, I mean, shit,
Right.
come on. And then you say, yeah, and you're like, okay, well, then there's a certain thing that pisses you off. I mean, you're right. All they do is just lead off of your answers, you know, and they start everything out just as simple as that. You know, I see that you're a happy person. That, you know, when you walk through the door, you're smiling and giggling, and, you know, I mean, I think it's a scam myself, but
Yeah.
a true psychic would never advertise, I don't think.
Yeah, I think to an extent, yes. Okay, and this is going to be kind of weird. When you're, well, I don't know if this would apply to you because you say you don't really sleep that much, but whenever you're trying to get to sleep, do you ever have like strange images pop in your head that aren't dreams because you're completely awake still, but it's like just like either flashes of pictures or almost like video clips that play in your head, just random shit?
I don't know. I don't know that I could say I have. Well, yeah, no, I don't know. I think the the things that I've experienced similar to that would be like as I'm drifting to sleep. Uh, so I don't think it's the same as what you're talking about.
Well, I'll try to elaborate on, like, with me, and it seems to happen more when I'm having trouble sleeping. And like I said, I'm definitely not starting to sleep because I know the difference between the two things. But I'll just have like these images in my head. And I was talking to somebody about this because they're involved with the paranormal and stuff like that. And you know, he told me to like try focusing on it. And there's certain things you can do to try to focus on it. And I am able to focus it to an extent, but a lot of times it's almost like an out of focus camera, like when it's not super clear. And then if I'm able to concentrate on it, sometimes I'm able to clear it up a little bit and get like a more clear image of it. But it's just like random shit. And it started off with just like places like outside, like nature, stuff like that. And then it slowly started developing into other stuff. And for the longest time, there was never any people or movement in these images, whatever you want to call them. But now it's like progressed to where there is movement, and I have seen people. And the people that are in there, I've never seen. Like, they're not people I know. They're just like there. And there's really no meaning behind them. They're just kind of irrelevant snippets of whatever. But it's just like really weird. And you know, I still need to read up on the remote viewing thing because that's something I do want to do a show on eventually. But it's like almost kind of like what they describe as remote viewing, because it's what it feels like. It feels like I'm seeing something else that's happening somewhere else.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. Is the astral projections? That would be, yeah. That is I don't know how I feel about that also, but there's a lot of documentation on it that says that it's real. You know, like my my scientific mind wants to say that it's impossible. You know, but some of the stuff that I've read says that it's real. By pretty well-known, honest scientists. So I don't know if what you're talking about is like a tap into like that area. I wouldn't, I wouldn't know. I don't know enough about it. But that is interesting. It's creepy how you don't know the people,
Yeah,
or you don't recognize them.
well, the first time I ever saw any kind of movement, I think I told Fred, I think I talked about it on his DIY show because like I had just dreamt about it before we did the show, or it was like the night before or whatever. I don't really know, but it was like an apartment, and there was. And when I say white and black, I don't mean as in like racial things. It was like almost like a cutout of a person, like like how you used to cut out little shapes, like people in school, like with like black construction paper and like white construction paper. It was almost like that, except it had a more accurate outline of a person, but it was just like an outline of a person.
Right.
And the white one was in the kitchen. I think that was the first one I saw. And the black one was over here. And then the white one started running towards the black figure. And it was just like really random, and it just was weird. And it's like, what the fuck does this mean? And they had no discernible features. It was just like all white, just pure white and
Weird.
just pure black. So I don't know what that was about, but it like really freaked me out because I never, like I said, I've never experienced motion in these things. And then that happened, and it was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, that's creepy.
Yeah, it was almost kind of like not like a shadow, I guess maybe kind of like a shadow person. But then the white being, I don't know what that would have been.
Yeah.
It wasn't angelic in any way. It just looked like, I don't know. It was
a cutout.
Yeah. And it was very, like, almost stiff. And, like, even when it was running, it was just, like, the cardboard thing, like, turned to the side. It was, like, in a running motion towards the black figure. Like, it was, like, it was fucked up. But the weird thing is, like, everything around it, like, the apartment that it was in, was perfectly clear. Like, it was, like, a real apartment. It was just those two things in the apartment looked just odd. Like, they weren't supposed to be there.
That's a new one to me.
Yeah, it's weird. And I read a lot of shit. Like, I've been reading more of the no sleep in Reddit. So if you're ever on Reddit, just like type in Google, because I find Reddit hard to navigate with their search engine. But if you Google Reddit no sleep, they have like all these just people telling stories about weird shit that happens to them. And
it's guaranteed to keep you from sleeping.
Yeah, definitely watch it during the day. Like as far away from when you plan on sleeping. But I've gone to a lot of different forums and watched a lot of videos and all that, and I don't know that I've ever heard anybody describe what happens to me during these episodes of whatever it is. And it's weird. And during one of these things, it was like one of the first ones I had, I actually saw the car that I have now before I bought it. And the strangest thing about that, and I think I've explained this before somewhere, but I had actually bought, or not bought, because I didn't end up getting to keep it, but I was looking for a new car and ended up getting what was it? I think it was a Camry. And it was during it was like Memorial Day or something. It was like some time where it was like the special thing and whatever. So I got the car and I thought I was approved for the car because that's what they kind of told me. But it turns out that they thought I would be approved, but I wasn't. So I actually had to end up returning the car like a week after I'd already had it, which really sucked.
Yeah.
So before I even knew I had to return it, I had this weird vision of my car, like the same color, everything. And I'm just thinking like, what the fuck is, like, what is this about? And then that happened. And I wasn't even thinking about the blue car or whatever. But after it happened, and this is another weird, kind of stupid thing, I ended up getting my Ford Focus because my aunt's husband, which is my uncle, he's been passed for a while. But since she's like family, she still gets a discount. So I was able to use her discount to get my car. And I had never actually seen my car prior to actually having it. Like I'd already signed all the paperwork and everything, and then they're like, "Oh, here's your car." So like I didn't pick out the color, I didn't pick out anything really about it. It was just a brand new Focus,
Yeah.
and it was like the exact car that I had seen like a couple days prior in one of the things. So it's just weird. And things like that happen every now and then to me.
Yeah.
During these sessions or whatever you want to call them. So I don't know what it is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's creepy when you dream something like that and it does end up coming true. That I don't know, it freaks my shit out. I don't like it. I mean, it would be cool if it only happened like every now and then. But like I said, I had a spell where it happened every time I was unconscious. I would dream something and it would end up coming true. I didn't like that.
Do you ever have the dreams where they feel different than other dreams? Like they feel like almost a higher state of consciousness within the dream?
I don't know. That would be hard to answer.
I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. And this doesn't happen to me very often. And it seems to kind of correlate with these images things before I go to sleep because they seem to correspond to each other. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like something in my, what is that, the pineal gland or whatever it is, which is supposed to be linked to being able to astral project and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if that's what I'm doing during these things. I don't know because I've never seen myself outside of the body.
Right.
Which I don't know if that's the same thing as an OB. Like I don't know if OBEs and astral projection are necessarily the same thing.
I don't think they are. I don't. That's why I think there's two separate. That's why they're separated. So I mean, I don't.
They could just be different terms for the same thing.
Yeah, I suppose.
But I don't know. I don't know what the difference is. But I've never had an out of body experience.
Yeah, I never have.
But yeah. Do you ever have reoccurring themes in a dream as if they, like, say in your dream, in your past, something happened, even though it really didn't happen in real life, but it's like a reoccurring theme in your dreams that this really did happen, but it's not real?
Yep. I have. I've had a reoccurring, like it seemed like it. Well, it felt like a like a sitcom on TV, and in my dream it was reality, but in real life it wasn't real. I don't know if that made any sense. It probably didn't, but it used to happen every now and then when I would go to sleep. I would have that same dream, and I would have it right before I woke up. It was weird because no matter what was going on in the dream, like right before I woke up, I would have this little snippet of that reoccurring dream, and then I would wake up and it would all be done. It was creepy shit. Very creepy shit. Because it was like, I don't know, because it's like I said, it's like watching a sitcom.
Yeah. Do you ever have apocalyptic dreams? Like the end of the world?
Oh, yeah. I think that a lot of that's got to do with the shit I read, though.
Yeah.
Like the books and stuff I read. But I think a lot of it has to do with that, though. But yeah, when I do have dreams like that, they are extremely vivid. And very, very graphic.
Yeah.
Like if you could film one of my dreams and release it, it would be a fucking killer movie.
I know, right?
It
And
would be.
you feel like I don't know how to put it. It's like you're almost pissed off because no one else can see it.
Yeah.
It's so fucking good.
Well, and what's bad is I can't put it into words just exactly how fucked up it is. You know, it's like I can kind of describe it, but it's not even close. And that's what sucks. Because I'd always try to explain like my dreams to my wife, and she's like, because she always tells me I have really fucked up dreams. You know, it's like, God, if you only knew, if you only knew exactly like the details that I'm leaving out, she probably wouldn't still be married.
See, I guess that's in one way I'm lucky is I can articulate my words pretty well. And I actually, some of the books that I've written were inspired by weird dreams I've had. And that's why I'm kind of pissed off that I don't have as great of dreams anymore. Because it's like now I have no inspiration for any of my fucking books.
I can articulate them great. It's just that some of the shit is so weird and so profound in my dreams. There's not English words to describe them. It's the problem. Yeah. I think a lot of it is because when I dream, there's like emotion and feeling all entwined in the visual aspect of it, if that makes any sense at all. I'm sure. I don't know if that comes across right, but
yeah, I get you. It's hard to put into words emotion sometimes.
Right. What about you? Do you dream apocalyptic dreams?
It depends. Like for some reason they seem to come in like periods of time, like where I'll just have nothing but these apocalyptic dreams. Typically, it seems to involve space, like something's wrong with the sun. Like I had a dream that the sun was like basically on overdrive, and it was pretty much frying everything, and you couldn't even be out in the sun for too long or you would die. And the weird thing is, like, I could feel it. Like I could feel the burning of the sun on my skin. Like it was weird. And like something with gravity messing up and pretty much any apocalyptic thing you could think of that would cause the end of the world. I've pretty much thought of it or dreamt of it. Right. Aliens attacking the Earth. That doesn't happen too much, but I have had a couple dreams where they decided that it was time to basically wipe us out, where you're either going to submit to them or fight back.
I've had a lot of zombie dreams.
See, my zombie dreams, it's not the end of the world. It's just kind of like Resident Evil, because, I play those games. So, I used to play those games quite a lot. So it was just kind of like being inside the game.
Yeah.
Like looking for ammo and shit.
Yeah, that's kind of the same. Yeah, it's kind of like living kind of a real life Walking Dead.
Yeah, but like I said in my dreams, like I'm always like superhuman, so it's not as like in my dream I'm always immune. So like if you ever watch the Resident Evil, like this movie series, I'm pretty much Alice in my dream. Right. Like I can kick ass, like I move extraordinarily, like just not right. Sometimes I have like these abilities where I can do weird shit, like move things, stuff like that, like in the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm immune. Like I'm one of the few people that are immune to the virus. So I'm not as like freaked out about it as everybody else around me. Pretty much I'm playing hero and trying to save people and shit. But yeah.
Well, at least you have like superpowers and shit.
Sometimes they don't work right though. That's the only thing. Like I said, for some reason, like weapons, like especially guns, and I think part of that is because I've never actually fired a gun before. But like even swords, sometimes this is gonna sound weird, but they're not, hard. They're like flimsy. So like I'm trying to swing it and it's just like flopping. And sometimes they cut me instead of the person. So again, I think it's metaphorical, but like I feel it. Like when I get cut, even though I heal because you know I'm superhuman, it still freaking hurts. And the weird thing is I've never been cut deep before. So how I'm able to feel something I've never actually experienced doesn't really make sense, but honestly I think that's how it would feel. I don't know. It's fucked up. Do you
I don't think I'd be picking up swords if I were you in a dream. If they're flopping around.
Yeah, no one likes a floppy sword. Fresh is just dot. And then Cobra said what I just said. Like I said, maybe that, I don't know. I can't explain it. I think with me, it's just like things don't always go the way that you want to, and like your intent isn't necessarily enough to make something happen. Maybe that's like the moral of that whole situation.
Right.
I don't really know. So most of the time, if I'm fighting something, I'm just using my hands because it's pretty much the only thing that fucking works. Or I blow stuff up. Sometimes, you know, I'm a fan of doing that.
Yeah, but in your dreams, you got like iron hands though too, right?
Well, yeah, they're like, even if I'm damaged in a dream, because even when I'm superhuman, I still get damaged. Like I still get cut or whatever. It's just I heal very quickly. So it's like I still feel the pain and everything. It's just I don't die from it.
Right.
So I'm pretty much almost invincible, if not invincible. But yeah. Do you have to sleep with a fan on or any form of white noise?
Yep, it's going right now.
Yeah, my heater's going on because it's freaking cold.
My air conditioner and fan run 24/7.
Yeah, I for some reason I just find silence to be.
It's nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it just like creeps me out. So like I always have to have something, like even like because I don't watch TV because we don't even have cable. So I always have something playing. Like I have my laptop over there, kind of like in front of where Momo's laying right now. Momo's sleeping. You see her. I always have like YouTube going. Like I'll put like a playlist on of just a random person. And I have the volume all the way down, almost to where you can't even hear it. But it's just that slight little thing. It kind of like makes me feel like there's somebody there with me instead of just being by myself.
Exactly.
But
that's the way I was when I was a kid also. When I was a kid, I always had to have a TV on because it felt like there was somebody else in the room.
Yeah. But now that we don't, like I said, we don't watch TV or whatever, it's like now my laptop is pretty much my TV. We already went over that. Went over that. Do you ever have a weird vibrating sensation when you're trying to sleep? Like your body feels like it's buzzing?
I can't say that I have ever experienced that.
Be glad.
And if I have, I don't recall it.
Yeah.
What is that?
It used to happen a lot when I was having because like I think I've talked about this before, if not on this channel, on my other one. I used to have panic attacks really bad to where I'd have them daily. Mm-hmm. Sometimes for like not hours, but like an hour at a time, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when like you think you're gonna die for an hour straight, it's pretty traumatizing. And it would always happen, well, not always, but it typically would happen when I try to sleep because I had this irrational fear that if I fell asleep, I wouldn't wake up. I don't know why. But like when I would try to sleep, like I would it's kind of like where you have that, and I'm sure you've experienced because it's pretty common, like where you about to fall asleep, but you feel like you tripped and it jerks you awake. Yeah. It's kind of like that, except instead of the jerk awake with the falling down thing, it was like my whole body was just like vibrating, almost like if you're not, like you're out of phase with
Mm-hmm.
physical reality, which I know sounds really fucked up.
Yeah.
Like imagine like you probably, I don't know if you watch Star Trek or whatever, but you would at least know what a teleporter is, like a
Mm-hmm.
teleportation, whatever. It's
Yeah.
almost like that. It's like almost like your whole body is just being like separated.
Yeah. Like pulled apart by molecules.
Yeah, it's like you feel like every essence of your body like vibrating.
And
I used to
what a
have that almost every night.
God.
Yeah.
Like a painless electrocution, maybe.
Yeah, like it didn't hurt. It was just very unnerving.
Yeah. That sounds creepy as hell.
Yeah. It's similar to like the panic attack where you feel like your heart's racing, but
Yeah.
it's like instead of your heart racing, it's like your molecules racing.
Right. Right.
But
Wow.
yeah.
That's that's creepy.
Yeah, and I've only ran into maybe one or two people that have had like described what I'm saying, and ironically, they were both on paranormal sites.
Hmm.
Like I've
How
looked, like,
ironic.
I thought there was something wrong with me, and I actually had to wear a heart monitor for like I think it was a month because I was having palpitations too.
Mm-hmm.
That was from the panic attacks, but like I thought there was something wrong with me. So every time uh, either episode happened, I had to push this button, and then it basically would read what's going on in my heart and it
Right.
record it or whatever. And then they were able to, you know, go through the testing, whatever they do to make sure that it's not abnormal. And everything came out, of course, normal. But
Huh.
Gizzard, you're stupid. Do you ever?
Apparently.
This is kind of similar to the whole image thing. Like when you're trying to fall asleep, do you ever hear like random voices or conversations, like almost like you're hearing a conversation like in another room, or like when you're on a phone, like back in the old days where you'd have a wireless phone or a
Right.
cordless phone or whatever, and you'd pick up on other people's like signal. Have you ever
Yeah.
had that?
I have. I
Yeah.
have had that happen. And that's a good way to describe it too, actually, is like signals getting crossed. And
Yeah.
that's weird because when it happened to me, I thought there was somebody in the room, like that I couldn't see talking. It I don't know, it was fucking weird.
See, I've never had it to be that clear where, well, I won't say never. There's been a couple of times where I've heard somebody and I thought they were calling to me, and it like kind of jerked me awake, or not
Hmm.
awake, but alert, and it kind of like threw off me trying to fucking sleep. But most of the time, it's just kind of like not muted, just very low, to where I
Hmm.
know it's not in the room with me, but it's almost like you're hearing it from another room.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, to me, it sounded like somebody was in the room whispering, or not whispering, but like their volume was turned down. If that makes any sense, I'm sure it doesn't. But and it sounded like, and to me, in my paranoid mind, I was thinking that they were talking about me, not talking to me, but talking about me. Like it was apparently two or three individuals. I don't know what was going on. It was one of those fucked up things, you know.
Yeah, I don't know either. And the conversations, just like the images, are never meaningful. Like I've never really had anything like I was actually hearing somebody. And like
Yeah.
I never recognize the voices. They're just random voices
Right.
talking to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how this was. I know I didn't like it. It made me. I was very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable.
Have you ever experienced sleep paralysis?
Once, and that was enough.
Yeah.
That I think honestly, that's one of the top three scariest things I've ever had happen to my life was
Yeah.
sleep paralysis. I will, if I don't ever experience that again, I'll be I'll be fine. I will be just fine.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's the most frightening thing. I can't put words to it. I mean, yes, I have.
Yeah, the that happening on top of the other thing that happened where I fell and then I woke up to pitch blackness. That was what inevitably stopped me from sleeping, because I used to sleep with all pitch black. Like I even because I was still living here, but it was like when I was younger, and I was on the main floor, and everybody in the house typically stays up late. It's just kind of how we are. So they'd be in the kitchen, and the light coming from the dining room, like I'd block the light out, like it was just completely black. But I don't even want to say I woke up. I don't really know how it started, but it's the only time it's ever happened to me. And I could see everything inside my room just as it is in real life. And to my left, where my dresser was, there was this red mist. And I knew in the, whatever you want to call it, that it was the devil. And it scared the shit out of me. And I was actually trying to wake myself up. Like I've said before, I typically can do that. And I was trying to. And this voice told me that I couldn't do it. He's like, you can't wake yourself up. You're never going to be able to wake up.
Damn.
And it scared the shit out of me. And then finally, like shortly after it said that is when, I don't want to say I woke up, because it was like the same. Like I woke up to the same surroundings, same everything. It's just, it wasn't there anymore. And I was able to move. And I know I was sleeping. I know I was sleeping, so it's not saying this really happened. I knew I was sleeping, but it's like I had no control over it. And I could not wake myself up for that little bit of time, and it freaked me out. And then I was like, fuck sleeping in the dark anymore. Not doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would say fuck sleeping, period, if that happened to me.
Well.
Yeah. I think I'd be done for a while with that.
Hi, ST. He always comes in the most fucked up moments. But yeah, it freaked me out. I don't, and that's why, like, in other experiences where some might say, well, that could be sleep paralysis, I'm like, no, because I've had sleep paralysis, and the other instances weren't like that. So I know what sleep paralysis is. I know how you feel and everything, and it is terrifying, but it wasn't the same.
Yeah, that's terrifying, and terrifying is not even the word.
Yeah. Do any other members of your family have sleep issues?
Just my wife. No blood relatives that I know of. I do have an aunt who is narcoleptic, but other than that, that's the only thing I know of. What about you?
Not to the extent of like me. Like my brother used to have these episodes when he was younger, where it was kind of similar to what you were describing, where your eyes are awake, but he would be walking around. He'd walk around, he'd talk to you, he'd point to things, but he was asleep.
Okay, you didn't ask me about sleepwalking, so.
No, but I'm saying, like, his eyes were open.
Yeah, I know.
You could see his pupils, like, and that's a weird thing, because I thought when you slept, your eyes rolled back, especially when you dream. But I don't know. I'm not an expert on that, but I thought that's the way it was. But like, he'd be dreaming and he'd be walking around, because like they were always nightmares. Like, I don't know what you would call them. I've never heard of anybody having exactly what he had, but he'd just be like, outside of the way he acted and him pointing to stuff that wasn't there, you would think he was awake. But we kind of became somewhat used to it, because they'd happen every now and then. And it seemed to only happen when he was hot, like if he had like a fever.
Mm-hmm.
But he'd just be like walking around. He would talk to you, but like,
wow,
everything around him wasn't, well, I wouldn't say everything around him, but a lot of things around him weren't right. Like he'd point to stuff and I'd be like, what is this? And he'd get like the first and second thing right, but then he'd point to something that I'm like, no, that's not what's there.
That's kind of creepy.
Oh, it was very creepy. It was
And
very,
he was stone cold asleep
yeah,
doing that?
yes.
Wow. How did y'all not fuck with him?
I actually did once, and I felt really bad about it. Actually, it wasn't while he was. Okay, this is what happened. So it was ironically that duplex that I've talked about in other videos where I
Yes.
saw that thing on the porch.
Yes.
They basically partitioned the living room so he could have his own room because there was only 2 bedrooms in the upper part where we lived. And they wanted me to have my own room because we were kind of just too old to share a room.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to move back with us for personal reasons, but they partitioned part of the living room so he'd have his own little space. Well, it was dinner time and he wasn't waking up. So finally, I was just being an ass. I'm like, wake up, there's a fire, there's a fire. Thinking that maybe he was I thought maybe he was pretending to still be asleep and really wasn't. But like he didn't really respond. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I walked out. And I think it was like, I don't know how long after it was, but it wasn't too much after that. He comes running out of his room and starts pounding on the bathroom where my dad was taking a bath. And he's like, get out, Dad, get out. Like, I guess he thought there was a fire. I don't know. But like, finally, like my dad, gets out of the bath. He was kind of frustrated because he was relaxing, whatever. And like, we all congregated into the living room. And he's like hysterical, crying, just carrying on. And we're trying to like calm him down. And he's like, he couldn't do it. She couldn't do it. And he kept repeating it. And they're like, what's the problem? And he kept just repeating it. And he was like, finally, we're like, well, what couldn't she do? And he's like, she couldn't rhyme.
Oh, man.
And then I don't know if it was that time or a different time, but he's like pointing me, telling me to get it. He's like, you can get it. And I'm like, get what? And then he's like, get it. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll get it. So I pretended to get it. And he's like, no, you didn't get it. I don't know. It was like, it wasn't funny really at the time, but like thinking back on it and just how ridiculous, like his conversation was just so incoherent. That's how you knew he just wasn't really there. But it was fucked up. Like, and there was actually one point where we were living with my mom where he started, I don't know if he was convulsing or if his eyes started rolling in the back of his head. Something fucked up started happening. And we were about to take him to the ER because like because usually the episodes don't last very long. Mm-hmm. But he had like a really high fever and all this was going on and he just wasn't waking up. And we were about to go to the ER and he finally came out of it. But it was terrifying, especially because these episodes happened where like all the places where it happened were highly active, like paranormal wise. So I'm already freaked out about the space to begin with. And then he's flipping out and pointing to shit that's not there. It's just, but for whatever reason, once like adolescence kind of kicked in, he stopped having it. So,
that's creepy.
Yeah. And the only other person that sleptwalked every now and then was my dad when he was young, but he didn't have episodes like that. He would literally just go in the kitchen and like make a sandwich. One time, I don't know if he was drunk because like, I think it was during the period where he was drinking a lot, but during one of his sleepwalking episodes, and this is, I think, probably the last time it happened to him because he was, older, but he walked into the kitchen and like started peeing. And like my mom walks in and she's like, what the fuck are you doing? Because he was peeing on the stove. Like the side of the stove. She's like, what the fuck are you doing? And he just looks at her and he's like, do you mind? I'm trying to piss. Then he goes into my room because I was a baby, climbs into my crib with me, and well, actually she didn't know where he went. She just knew that he went into one of the rooms. Then she went in like a little bit after to kind of like see what was going on, and she couldn't find him. And then she just sees my dad's, because my dad's 6'2", so his like legs are hanging out of the crib, and she's freaking out because she thought he laid on me because he's sleepwalking. But he didn't. He had the mind to like put me on his chest or whatever. But he crawled into the crib with me and had me laying on him.
Yeah.
So that's really the only sleeping issues. I mean, as far as like being an insomniac, I mean, none of us really get like a good night's sleep per se, but they don't have the issues that I have.
Right. Right. Yeah. When I was a kid, I slept walk almost on a nightly basis. It was it was pretty bad. I remember being real young. My mom was gone apparently, and or I had gone to sleep while my mother was gone. So in my mind, she was still not there, and I decided to go look for her. I guess I don't remember a dream or anything. All I remember was waking up outside by the curb, looking up and down the road in my underwear. Oh man. I remember I woke up once in the kitchen taking a piss too. I was peeing in the trash can though, but I woke up while I was doing it because in my mind I remember the dream too. I dreamt that I went to the bathroom and because we had a flap on the trash can, a little lid, and I lifted it up just like it was the toilet seat, and then I took care of my business, and I woke up in mid piss. I was like, oh shit, Well, I didn't say that. I was a little kid. But I didn't know what to do, so I just finished, you know, and promptly went back to bed. And I didn't say a damn thing to my mom about it.
Yeah. Yeah. To my knowledge, I've never slept walk. Like, no one's ever like caught me doing it or told me that I did it.
I used
So
to be real bad about it, real bad. After I got around 19, 19, 20, after adolescence and all that, it's when I guess I grew out of it.
that's just so strange that it tends to just go away once you become an adult.
Yeah. I guess it's because adults have more important worries on their mind, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. But yeah. I don't know if I've ever did I tell you about the time where I saw the shadow thing in my aunt's light fixture?
Yes. Yes, you did.
That was like the only time that I may have slept walk, but I just find it ironic. I honestly don't think I did, but it's the only time where it may have been a possibility because after that
Hmm.
whole thing happened, according to my cousin, which is my aunt's daughter, because I asked her if anything weird had happened in the house because I don't know, I just got like really weird vibes from that house. So I figured with her growing up there, she would know better than anyone if there was anything going on. And she
Right.
said no. And then I told her the story about what happened. And then that's when she told me that her mom told her that her mom awoke in the middle of the night to me standing beside her bed staring at her.
Yeah.
But I have no recollection of that whatsoever. And it was
Did
the night before I saw that thing. So honestly, I don't think it was me. Like, and if it was, I don't think it was like a case of sleepwalking. Because I just
did
find it odd that that would be the one time where I sleptwalk
yeah.
out of my whole
Didn't you
life.
say that? Didn't you say that she like looked at you differently from then on, or didn't like you, or something after
No,
that?
no, because I never knew about it.
Oh, I thought you had mentioned something about.
She said that she was creeped out by it, which is
Oh,
understandable. You wake up and somebody's just
yeah.
standing by the bed staring at you.
No kidding.
No, no, she didn't act any differently towards me. I mean, she kind of like seemed weird in the morning, but it was like
Oh,
after
okay.
I'd seen that thing, and she was probably to me it. I just thought she was surprised I was up so early because even
Mhm.
back then I slept in because it was summer vacation, so I wasn't up any earlier than noon,
Right.
and she was getting ready for work, so it was early, and she was
Right.
just kind of to me it just seemed that she was surprised I was awake so early. Plus, she might have seen that I was kind of acting weird because, I had just seen that thing.
Right.
But I wasn't about to tell her about it because, I didn't really know. I mean, I knew her, but I wasn't close to her. And there was really no one in my life I could tell anything like that to because no one believed me. Like, I told my grandma about it. I begged her to come pick me up early because I was freaked out because my aunt left for work. And that left me alone in the house for a couple hours until my grandma came pick me up. And I was freaking the fuck out. And she's like, no, I'm not picking you up yet. So, and I think I did tell her what happened, but she just kind of like, was like, whatever, you're just whatever. She just kind of brushed it off. And then like a couple of times when I was living in what I call the greenhouse, I told my dad about things that would happen. And after him brushing it off so many times, I didn't bother anymore because he didn't believe me. So there was no point in doing it. Yeah. So I just kept everything to myself, probably all the way up until high school when I met Courtney, which was the girl that had the really fucked up house.
Yeah, the creepy girl.
Well, we were both creepy. And
oh, sorry.
No, I was just saying, I don't even know how it got brought up, but eventually got brought up about, ghosts and all that. And then we started sharing experiences and then experienced a lot of crazy stuff together.
Yeah. I got to thinking my son sleepwalks. I just now remembered that. In fact, he did it 2 nights ago. He came in here and looked at me and I was like, what? And then he walked over by the TV and I had to tell him to go lay back down like we always do. But he'll do that 2 or 3 times a week.
Do you have any daughters?
Yeah. Got a 17-year-old.
Oh, okay. And they don't do it?
Mm-mm.
It's strange that it seems to run with the men in the family.
Well, out of full disclosure, she's not my biological daughter, so.
Oh, okay. But it does seem to run with men.
Yeah. I think that I read that the majority of sleepwalkers are male for whatever reason.
Maybe it's like a surge of testosterone or something.
Could be.
Or whatever goes on with, because it seemed like you said, you become an adult and it just kind of goes away.
Yep, exactly.
Meanwhile, poltergeist activity seems to be attached to women during the same time, or girls.
Exactly. Yep.
So I don't know. There's got to be some kind of correlation there.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. That's interesting, though.
Yeah. I'm out of my questions, so so the only thing I could probably think of talking about, unless you have something, is like specific dreams that you've had that are really fucked up. Like I could talk about the one that I was describing earlier, which kind of makes no sense out of context.
Well, mine is that one that I was talking about when I was a kid. The monster bug or the alien thing. For some reason, well, I'm 40 years old. So 32 years, I can still remember that dream. I can remember everything about that dream. I can remember how it felt when he was, scratching my back.
Yeah.
What the hell is up with that,
I don't know. Maybe you were getting diddled.
God damn it. I thought we was over that.
No. I remembered it.